Hi, welcome to Kitchen Garden Therapy. This is Slava, and today I would like to take you on an April tour of my garden. This is the first complete tour of the season, and I would like to start here in the front of my house. Between houses we have these little plots of land that I have a quince tree growing, one over here in the front and another one toward the back. These trees are 5 years old, and last year was the first time they bloomed and gave me some fruit. Then here by the house I had a ton of daylilies and hostas growing here, which I didn't plant them. They were here when we bought the house, and I didn't like them here, but always dragged digging them out because I just hate digging. But this year I decided I'm going to grow more edibles and beneficial flowers like medicinal flowers, pollinator-friendly flowers. So that's why I got rid of all those ornamentals. And let me show you this other quince. It's also looking good. And then over here, underneath the quince tree, something exciting is growing. I planted this last fall. This is strawberry raspberry. Really interesting fruit. I'm excited to grow it. Then over here I planted some chamomile, also pansies, and over here I have 2 raspberries coming up. I also planted them last fall. These are red raspberries that bear fruit in fall. I already have golden raspberry, and I'm excited to have red raspberries as well. My plan is for these raspberries to take over this whole plot and perennialize, but in the meantime I'm going to have some annual things growing in here. Also, a few years ago I planted some horseradish in here, and it looks like it's coming out of dormancy as well. So let me show you what annual plants I had planted so far here. One of them is evening primrose, which I started from the seed in February. I planted like 8 of them here. I also planted some kale. I really like how this kale looks. Also last year I planted elderberry bush here. It was really tiny, like one of those you buy from Home Depot in a package. So I really hope it makes it. It already starting to show some signs of life, so I am hopeful. And over there by the wall I planted some Brussels sprouts and purple sprouting broccoli. Because this area is partial shade, they should be fine in here. Now in the front, let's take a look what's happening there. I can see that my peony is already starting to sprout. I really love peonies, can't wait to see them again in bloom. Also my hellebores are starting to bloom. These are white hellebores. I also have a ton of daylilies sprouting, and I really want to get rid of them. I don't like them that much. Also over there you can see Primrose coming back to life. These are Snapdragons that I had just planted a week ago. I started them from seed under the lights, and now I planted them in the garden. And these little spikes are lily of the valley. Also my mint is starting to sprout, and look at this beauty. This is my white hyacinth. Because it's raining I can't smell it right now, but when it's a sunny day the smell is amazing. Few years ago when I planted it, it was just one hyacinth, and now this bunch is getting bigger and bigger. Same as these daffodils. These are miniature daffodils, and they keep growing and spreading as well. Both daffodils and hyacinths are some of the easiest flowers to grow, and one of the first to bloom in the spring. Also my roses are starting to leaf out. I really like these red roses. They are looking good. There's some geranium in the back, more snapdragons here. Also some hostas are coming up, more daffodils, and more snapdragons. Also, there is some muscari over here. I think these are blue. There is another bush of roses over here. And this plant is called pulmonaria or lungwort. It has pink blooms. That is perennial chamomile, and there are some irises starting to come up. And over here by the wall, I have Clematis that is also starting to coming back. Now over here in the front, I have some peony, which is a full cup peony, starting to show up. This is another hellebore that's blooming right now. Tulips are also looking good. They are starting to get buds on them. These are red tulips, and I planted them like 5-6 years ago, as soon as we moved into this house. And then these are forget-me-nots that I started from seed in the house and just transplanted them here. These are California poppies, and over here is the start of the row of my Ranunculus. So I bought these Ranunculus as corms, then I soaked them, planted them in a tray, so they pre-sprouted, and then I planted them out over here. And in between the Ranunculus I planted Dutch iris, and you can see it's starting to poke through the soil. And there is more California poppies that I also started from seed in the house and now transplanted them here in the garden. Now let's move to the front. By the arc I have Clematis on both sides. I like Clematis a lot. When it blooms and it goes all over the arc, it looks so good. On this side I have a lighter purple, and on the other side I have a darker variety, so dark purple. This one is starting to leaf out. And then over there I have some tulips. These are lilies that are bright orange. And these tulips, looks like some of them are starting to have buds. These are supposed to be white. I just planted them last fall. This is my sharing library where we can share books with neighbors. And over here I have some bee balm, which is a pink variety. It's a perennial. And over there in the back is catmint. There is also more daylilies here, which I need to get rid of. And in this little patch I have some lingonberry over here in the corner. I need to cut some of these brown leaves from last year. And these are ramps, wild garlic. I'm really excited that they are showing up. Now let's go up on the stairs. I have some flowers in hanging baskets. So these are my pansies. Still looking good, even though we had a warm spell, then we had snow and freezing temperatures, and they were all droopy and sad. But then they came back to life as soon as the warm temperatures started again. I got these hanging baskets from IKEA a couple years ago, and I really like them. And on the other side I have a couple more baskets, and also this plastic raised bed that's kind of elevated. It has legs and it fits here perfectly. I like having flowers in there. Now let's go to the backyard where I had planted some new things recently. This is aronia berry. Also there is broad beans over there by the wall. And these 5 plants are perennial broccoli, 9-star perennial broccoli. Also over here I planted Nanking cherry, and all around I planted a ton of red onions. You can see them poking through the soil. Then here I have some mush which had overwintered from last fall. I planted some blackberry over there, some bare root strawberries, which are not even showing up yet. And here I planted 5 rows of different kinds of beets. Now let's take a look at my Schizandra wine. This is also known as 5-flavor berry. It's a very medicinal plant and a great tasting fruit. I'm really excited to have it in my garden. This year I'll try to propagate it and see if I can make more plants. And this is red currant bush. I really like all kinds of currants. I have red, white and black one. They are so easy to grow, very low maintenance, kind of plant it and forget it. This is the white variety. There's also some lilies coming up over there, and currants are leafing out so nice. There's also some rose over here, and that's a black currant over here. Now let me show you one of my raised beds where I had planted some radishes, spinach and arugula. They are all growing really nice. Hopefully in a week or so I'll have some radishes. Now in here in this bed I created my perennial medicinal garden. I have some colts food growing over here, and you can see it's blooming right now. Colts food is really interesting plant. In my country we call it mother and the stepmother. I also have some valerian plant over here known as Valerian Root. It's also medicinal plant and it grows big and tall. Some more bee balm coming up, and this is snowdrop starting to bud up. Last year I also took a cutting of my white rose and sticked it in here, and as you can see it's starting to grow, so it worked. I also placed some cuttings of currants, but I don't remember which variety, red, black or white. I also have some brunera in here, which has beautiful blue blooms. These are more snowdrops. This is motherwort, which is also a medicinal plant. And this is johua, which is a medicinal chrysanthemum. There's a few more things that didn't come out yet. Hopefully they will. This is oregano starting to show up, and over there is thyme. Now let's move to other side of the garden where I have my raised beds. So these are the newest additions to my garden. I just got them this year. It was a gift for Valentine's Day and I really love it. I have peas, cabbages, kohlrabi, kale and lettuce growing in here happily. I also have ground level raised beds in which I have more cabbages and lettuce growing, and in between all of them there are onions planted. Also in this one garlic, so all those things that are poking through are the garlic. My winter zone containers are also hanging in here, and in this area I have my sour cherry tree growing. I really love sour cherries and I'm excited to have this in my garden. It's 5-year-old, and this is lovage, which is a perennial vegetable that tastes like celery. And over there in the back by the fence I have golden raspberries growing. I really like those, they are so sweet. More winter zone containers in between the beds. I open them up so they can receive some rain. And in these raised beds I have more lettuce, more onions, more kale and cabbage. Now let's go take a look what in that cold frame and that portable greenhouse is. So it's really warm and raining. That's why I removed the plastic so the rain can water all of my plants really nice. And I had planted some carrots in here. There is dandelion, wild violet in here. Also there is a row of garlic and the carrots in between. And on the other side I have a few rows of radishes growing, and it looks like I need to start thinning them out. They are really dense. In the back I have more daylilies, and those two are garlic chives. And in between these two things I have a dwarf peach tree that I planted last year, and it looks like starting to bloom. Over there in the back I have some bluebells, which look pink right now, but when they bloom they will be blue. There is more garlic chives over here by the raspberries, and around this area I also have my asparagus growing, but it's not up yet. In the cold frame I have some spinach and lettuce in between, and there is raspberries coming up, and I think I saw some over here too. Take a look how far they crawled underground and showed up over here. And something else that was surprising to me, this is kale. Last year I cut it by the ground almost, and this year it's starting to come up from almost the roots. How exciting. Also, let me show you my comfrey, which I started from seed last year and I planted it, I'll show you later, in the perennial patch, and it wasn't showing up. So I bought a plant and I stuck it in here, and it's growing really nice, but it's gonna get bigger and bigger and bigger, and it's gonna start choking these annual plants. So I really have to start thinking of where to move it. Also this year I'm starting elephant garlic for the first time. Never grew it before. And over there is regular garlic growing in between calendula and some kale. And this is Swiss chard over here. Some of those kales and cabbages are starting to get really big. That broccoli rape is getting taller and taller. There is also some peas and broad beans over there. So these beds were under plastic when it was really cold, and now it's warm, so I removed it. And here I have my pawpaw tree, which I planted last year. It's doing nothing, so I did a scratch to see if it's still alive, and it looks like it's green inside. This is my iris, which I really like. That's Rose of Sharon. And over there, more daylilies. We're just regular daylilies. And this is my sorrel. And that's that comfrey that I started from seed last year, and it wasn't doing anything. But now it started growing after a year. These are my all-pine strawberries. There is also some lemon balm in here, which is growing really good. Lemon balm is kind of invasive. This is butterfly weed, I believe. And these all-pine strawberries are so good. I really like them. More lemon balm here. More garlic chives in there. This is my lilac, which I want to get rid of. There is more muscari here. It's like a mix of everything in here. There is some columbine that self-seeded itself. There is more columbine over there in the back, all around this grapevine. There are some chives growing in here. I need to get more chives though. And this is some pretty flower. And here I have ramps, red vein sorrel, also salad brunette, and more ramps. Of course there are wild violets and dandelions, and some purslane growing as well. It's like a little bit of everything in here, all perennial edible things. More on perennials, I have some yarrow growing over here. It's starting to leaf out. There are more strawberries all around this yarrow. There's also some leeks that overwintered. And over here I have sweet woodruff, which is another medicinal plant, really nice to have in the garden. Now by the back door I also have another arc, and by this arc I also have Clematis, just as the same as in the front. This is purple Clematis and it's coming back to life. And there is more bee balm, and on the other side I have the same thing, Clematis and bee balm, and also some columbine. This year I decided to plant some hardy kiwi, so I got two different varieties and planted one on each side. So that was Isai, and this is prolific kiwi. My goal is to establish them here and then get rid of the Clematis and to just have kiwi growing. There is also some sage starting to come back to life, and there is Agastaches in here, also known as hyssop, and there is another variety of it, and this thing is Yostaberry, which is a cross between gooseberry and black currant. Now on the other side by the fence I have another grapevine growing, and underneath the grapevine I have some hyacinths that look like they're getting ready to bloom. There is also more red vein sorrel over there, and over here I have Persian Lilac growing, which is my favorite variety. Those other ones I want to get rid of and keep just this one because it has large blooms. Then to the right of the lilac I have a rose bush growing, which has nice red roses, and over there I have flowering quince bush. I also have one red currant over there, which I using this area just to propagate it. And then I planted a peach tree over here. I just bought it this year and decided that this would be a perfect spot because lilac is over there, these two bushes are in the back, and peach tree will have enough room to grow here. My yard is really small, but I'm trying to grow as many fruit trees as I can. I also planted some more perennial broccoli in here, so 2, 3, and the fourth one over there. I really hope they survive my climate and perennialize in here. Also, I planted some more flowers, black-eyed Susan, also a perennial chamomile. I have some peony over there in the back, some lilies, tulips, muscari, strawberries, daffodils. So these are daffodils getting ready to bloom. Also some snapdragons over there in the back. So this is the Callaway Chamomile. Those things by the fence are lilies starting to show up, and these two things are black-eyed Susan. I also have some rhubarb coming up. This rhubarb I planted last year and it's starting to show up. I also have a lot of strawberries growing all around here. These are regular strawberries. Also over here in the middle, around this new peach tree, I planted a few stock flowers, which are a column blend variety. And on the right side, I try to recreate the same pattern that on the left. That's the peony, and these are daffodils on both sides, lilies, more daffodils over there, and these two are black-eyed Susan, and this one is perennial chamomile. And I also planted one more rhubarb over here. So on both sides of the peach tree I have rhubarbs with all these perennial flowers and broccoli, and there is also a perennial echinacea over here starting to come up. So it's a mix of fruits, veggies and flowers all together. And over here on the edge of the garden I have my herb tower, in which I have dill, cilantro, parsley and chervil growing nicely. Now let's take a look in my greenhouse, which doesn't have much growing as of now because I planted a lot of different things. There is some fenugreek, pansies, nasturtiums, some more vegetables over here. These are my edible chrysanthemums, chop suey greens, some celeriac, and that's broccoli. And this beautiful thing is bok choy or tatsoi, I don't know. They're so similar. I need to plant these out too. I'm just waiting for the rain to stop. There is more endive over here and some more pansies. In the next few days I'm going to plant all of these out too, and then I'll start bringing those plants that I have indoors for them to transition and harden off. You can see in these greenhouses I also have room. There's only onions and some pansies left, 3 trays of pansies, and some sweet pea and marigolds. But these other small things are empty. I had some cabbages in there. So now that there is room in the greenhouses, I can start bringing these tomatoes out in there because as you can see they're starting to bloom, so I have to slowly get them used to outdoor conditions. I have a ton of tomatoes. I started them all under the lights upstairs, and then I brought them in here because they don't fit under the lights anymore. Also, this is my sweet potato growing slips. Some of these tomatoes I planted out in 1-gallon pots already, so they are ready to go outside. In this room I have a lot of windows, so there is enough light for these plants to receive, and I'm using this room as a transition between from under the lights and the outdoors. So now let's go upstairs and take a look what's happening under the grow lights. And over here I have a ton of peppers, a forest of peppers. There is more than 100 of them here, and they are all at different stages of growing, some of them bigger than others, because I started them from seed gradually, starting at the beginning of February. So these ones over here are the biggest, and as you can see I topped them off, which means I pruned the tops so they can start branching out. Other peppers are still small because I started them later in the February or even some in the beginning of March, but that's okay, they will catch up, they still have enough time. Also I have some petunias here which are growing really good. Some of them are starting to bloom even. More peppers and more petunias. Looks like this one is going to open any day now. And on the last shelf over here I have some more tomatoes. I have some petunias and peppers. So that's petunia over there in the back, branching out nicely, getting ready to bloom. More tomatoes in the bottom. There is also some eggplant in here and also more tomatoes. And I'm growing all of these not just for myself but also to share with my friends and family. Thank you so much for being with me this half an hour. I know it was a long garden tour, but I wanted to show you everything that's going on in my April garden. I hope you've enjoyed the tour, and let me know in the comments below what's happening in your April garden. Are your perennials back to life again? And what new things you have added to your garden this year?